Are you currently trying to set up your non-profit organization in Nigeria and you are stuck with the procedures, the requirements? You need to know what is even needed or involved in registering your NGO in Nigeria. Hello, my name is Cynthia Tishon. I'm a principal at Lex-Praxis, and in this video, I will be sharing with you the processes and requirements for setting up your NGO in Nigeria. But before I go to the subject of this video, I have a request to make. Please click the subscribe button in this video to get more law and business tips like this. And also, if you find this video useful, please don't forget to share and like this video as well. Now, back to the subject matter for today: how to register a non-profit organization in Nigeria. Now, as we all know, just like the name connotes, right, a non-profit organization or non-profit organizations are primarily established for the purpose of promoting a cause. It could be a social cause, a cultural cause, a religious objective that does not involve, buying and selling or the business of making profits, right? So when you set up a non-profit organization are established primarily for the purposes of doing anything else, promoting a good or a cause apart from making profits. They do not make profits. Now, do you know that apart from promoting a social or religious objectives, a non-profit organization can be established to immortalize a loved one? Yes. If you have a loved one who is deceased, it could be your mom, your dad, a sibling, or someone whose name you want to be remembered for a lifetime. One of the best ways to do that is to set up a non-profit organization in their name to honor their memory. Also, are you also aware that non-profit organizations can be used as a post-death wealth management strategy? Yes, especially in cases where as an individual that who has assets to distribute to their loved ones, when you are aware or you realize that writing a will is going to cause a lot of dispute or chaos in your family amongst your loved ones. One of the ways to avoid that is to also set up a non-profit organization. Now, I'm not going to go into that detail now because it's a bit technical and it is not part of the subject of today's video. But I just want you to take note of these points. Now, let's go down to the subject matter about setting up a non-profit organization. Now, what law governs establishing a non-profit organization in Nigeria? In Nigeria, the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020 is the primary law that governs the operation, the formation, and even the dissolution, or will I say the closing, of non-profit organizations in Nigeria. Primarily, non-profit organizations in Nigeria are registered under the category of incorporated trustees. This is unlike the profit-making ventures like the business name and limited liability companies. Anything that has to do with a non-profit making organization are categorized as incorporated trustees. So, what are the requirements for setting up a non-profit organization in Nigeria? To set up a non-profit organization, you need a minimum of at least 3 names, 3 proposed names for consent, right? You also need a minimum of 2 trustees, one of them to be appointed as either a chairman and the other as a secretary. You also need to provide particulars of these trustees. It could be the name, their residential address, date of birth, email, and phone number. Just generally speaking, the details and contact information of the trustees that you appoint for your non-profit organization, right? And also, you need to provide copies of passport photographs of trustees. You also need copies of valid government-issued ID cards of trustees. Now, in Nigeria currently, what we recognize as valid government-issued ID cards could serve as either a driver's license, it could be your passport, or what you refer to as international passport, national ID card, or even a permanent voter's card. Any of these 4 will suffice as a means of identification. We also need extract of minutes of the general meeting appointing the trustees, and also a special clause in that minute where the special clause rule was adopted into the constitution of the organization and signed by the chairman and secretary. Don't worry about that. Whoever is handling your incorporation process will help with the preparation of the minutes of meeting. Also, you need a trustee declaration form duly deposed to by each trustee in any high court in Nigeria. You also need original newspaper publication in 2 national dailies and evidence of payment of prescribed fee. These are the requirements for setting up a non-profit organization. Now, who can be appointed as a trustee in Nigeria? Anybody can be appointed as a trustee in Nigeria, right? But so long as that person is not an infant, is not an undischarged bankrupt, is not a person of unsound mind, anyone can be a trustee, right? So what are the steps to take when setting up your non-profit organization in Nigeria? First of all, come up with a name. Like I said earlier, you need a minimum of 3 names. And from experience, I will recommend that when you're providing your names, the name should not be similar to each other. So you're required to provide at least 3 names for application for consent to register your non-profit organization using that name, right? And then the second step is to appoint your trustees. So apart from yourself as the founding member, you need to, like we said, the minimum number of trustees required for setting up your non-profit organization in Nigeria is 2 persons. One must be a chairman and a secretary. So if you're one of the founding members who may be serving as either a chairman, you need to appoint someone else who will be playing the role of a secretary. And if you have more, you can also add them, but at least it mustn't be less than 2 persons. And then seek the services of a professional to assist you with the registration process. This is because setting up an NGO in Nigeria is very technical and can be quite stressful if you do not understand the laws governing it as well as the requirements. In order to save yourself time, money, and stress that comes with this process, we always recommend that you seek the services of experts who are good at this so that you can free up your time to do something else or pay attention to other processes or things that are required for setting up or getting your non-profit organization up and running, right? Now, how long does it take to set up a non-profit organization? In Nigeria, we usually say basically from 5 weeks and above. This is because the newspaper publication requirement requires that the publication must be done for at least 28 days, not less than 28 days. So when you calculate that, you see that that's almost a month, right? So that is why we always recommend, we usually say 5 weeks, so maybe 5 to 6 weeks, if the person, whoever is handling it, knows what they are doing, right? So yeah. Now, why should you register your NGO? Setting up your NGO, registering it or having it incorporated comes with a lot of benefits, right? One of them is that your NGO is formed as a corporate entity, so it's no more operating as an individual, and this is good for branding purpose, visual appeal, and also for the operations of the organization. It creates trust amongst members that this organization is not just a one-man show, right? Also, an NGO becomes entitled to purchase land, own fixed assets, and also incur liabilities under its common seal, right? Also, a registered or an incorporated non-profit organization acquires perpetual succession status. In other words, what that means is that the death of the trustees or the founding members of that non-profit does not necessarily lead to the end of that organization. Remember, I talked about immortality, right? So there is always room for appointing new trustees. If one of the trustees is diseased or all are diseased, you can always reappoint new trustees to run the affairs of that non-profit organization, right? Also, registration gives your non-profit organization a corporate image. It also serves as protection, particularly as it concerns the name of the NGO. So once a name is approved for the non-profit organization, that registered name cannot be registered by a third party as a non-profit organization, right? So it restrains third parties from registering a non-profit organization using the same name. I would also chip in here that also to be able to gain exclusivity when it comes to using that name or gain ownership rights to using that name, you can also take it a step further and consider registering a trademark. We provided a video, we uploaded a video about trademark registration somewhere in this channel, so feel free to check out for one of it and just understand the differences between registering a trademark and having your company registered in Nigeria. There are a lot of benefits, differences, and the benefits are also different as well, right? Also, you also have the ability to open and operate a bank account in the name of your non-profit organization. Another benefit is that it affords your NGO access to credit from official lenders and financial institutions, right? It also protects your non-profit from personal liabilities, like I said. In the event that your non-profit organization owes debt, right? The members or the trustees of that organization will not be required to pay off that debt from their own assets. Rather, the law considers looking into the assets of the non-profit organization, since the non-profit organization has a corporate personality that has the capacity to acquire assets like own land and other forms of assets, right, in its name. So the fact that it is owing debt or it's into any form of liability does not mean that the members are going to suffer heavily for it by contributing their personal assets to that. No. So that is what it does. It protects the members from personal liabilities. Another benefit is that non-profits also enjoy tax exemption, right? So now when you talk about tax exemption, let me explain. The fact that you are in a non-profit organization, NGOs are by law generally restricted from or exempted from paying income tax, right? That is, and the reason is simple. A non-profit organization is primarily established not for the purpose of making profit. They are not into buying and selling, right? So long as that non-profit organization is not into buying and selling, right, they are exempted from income tax. However, this does not mean that they are generally exempted from paying any form of tax. That's not true. Non-profit organization can payee or pay as you earn. That is in situations where they have employees, right? They could also be required to pay stamp duties or withholding tax if they are transacting with vendors or contracting vendors to provide either a service or supply goods. In such situation, they will have to pay tax as it governs that transaction. So non-profit organizations, yes, they are exempted from income taxes, but they are not exempted from other forms of taxes, especially depending on the kind of transaction that they are involved in, right? So I thought to also clarify that. Another benefit is that a non-profit organization can sue and be sued in its corporate name. So if there are issues maybe within the organization, because the organization can make decisions in its name, and the organization is to be charged to court, they don't need to charge the members. They charge the non-profit, they sue in the name of the non-profit organization. So that's what it means by being sued or can sue in its name, right? Now, there is another question that we usually get. This has to do with foreigners, whether or not a foreigner can set up a non-profit organization in Nigeria. The answer is yes, so long as that foreigner stays in Nigeria. It is a mandatory requirement that anyone who is a trustee of a non-profit organization must stay in Nigeria, must live in Nigeria. So if you're a foreigner and you are currently in Nigeria, you have a residence permit, you can set up a non-profit organization. However, if you do not stay in Nigeria, you cannot set up your non-profit organization under the category of an incorporated trustee. I hope I've been able to answer that question. And so there you have it. We've been able to explain the step-by-step requirements and processes for setting up a non-profit organization in Nigeria. If you have any questions with regards to everything that I've shared in this video, feel free to leave your questions in the comment section and we'll attend to you. If on the other hand, you want to speak directly with any of us, any member of our team, please do well to send a DM through any of our social channels or on the description section of this page. We have our social media channels. Our WhatsApp number is also there. You can send a private message on any of these mediums and we will definitely respond to you. So I hope you got value from this video. If you did, please feel free. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, please. In this channel, we share everything that has to do with law and business growth, the legal aspects of running your business or even your non-profit organization in Nigeria. So feel free to subscribe to this channel. And if you found this video useful, don't forget to click the like button and also share to anyone who you feel will benefit from this video. Until I come your way again, I look forward to hearing your questions or seeing your questions or receiving your messages. Bye for now.